In a society today where we're constantly being told that the sun is dangerous and we need to put sunblock on every time we go outside. And what people don't understand is when you're blocking the sun, you're blocking this these UVA rays from getting into the skin to produce that vitamin D, but also to trigger those melanocytes, which are in the hair follicles, to produce more melanin. Okay. And so I think that's really important for people to know and understand because, again, we are sun people. For thousands of years, humans have not only worked outside and lived outside, but we spent the vast majority of our time outside in nature, exposed to the sun. It didn't matter if you're white, black, fair skinned. Most people spent most of their time outside in the sun, okay, for hundreds of thousands of years. For millions of years, fully exposed to the sun. I mean, we can go back 70 years ago and most jobs were outside manual labor jobs. Okay, so for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, we were working outside and you never heard about, cancer being the number one form of cancer or skin cancer being the kind of cancer that was running rampant. So it's important to know that a lot of things have shifted, okay? And it's also really important to keep in mind that you need sunshine, okay? You absolutely need sunshine, not just to make sure that you're getting those UVA rays from the sun to produce melanin, but also for vitamin D and also for other various things like controlling our cortisol levels, which is going to help with our sleep-wake cycles as well, too. All right, so I just want to put that out there because, again, melanin production is going to be impacted by the sun, but it's also going to be impacted by other things too. But the sun is very important. And the other things that can impact your melanin production is gonna be your hormonal imbalance. It's gonna be inflammation, and it's gonna be, our aging process. We naturally age, and as we naturally age, at some point we will start to produce less and less melanin. I think a large part of that is because as we age, we get more sedentary and we don't spend enough time outside. We're not as active and we're not as conscious about our diet. And so I really don't think it's necessarily aging that is the issue in terms of like melanin production as it decreases. And that's why we tend to get more gray hairs. I think it's a shift in lifestyle. And the reason why I say that is because, as you guys know, I lived in the blue zone for 4.5 years in Okinawa, Japan. And those people who spent the most time outside in Ogami Village, those centenarians, people who were living to 100 and living on a lifestyle that was conducive for them living to 100 and eating primarily a plant-based diet, a lot of them were able to maintain their hair color. Okay, so I think it's really important to understand that a lot of things that we attribute to aging is also part of what we think is normal about what we should be doing as we age. And living in that population and going and see other people who are living to 100 and other populations, what I noticed the consistent thing was they remain active, they remain very conscious about their diet. They spend a lot of time outside in nature. And I think those things are very key and important to maintaining our health and also aging gracefully. So let's get into the major deficiencies and causes of premature gray hairs. So let's start with number one. Number one is copper deficiency. The reason why a copper deficiency could be sort of tagged in with premature gray hair is because the enzyme tyranase, it requires copper to catalyze the action that produces the melanin. So if you don't have copper, you won't be able to create that enzymatic activity to actually produce the melanin from the melanocyte. Okay, so hugely important. So a copper deficiency could actually be a part of the problem as to why you're prematurely growing gray hairs. Okay, and where can we get copper in our diet? We can get copper from nuts and seeds, avocados, kale, chickpeas, and quinoa. Okay, and you're gonna see a recurring theme here. Okay, because in our minds, we always think when I'm looking for one sort of supplement, we think that I got to buy this supplement, and this supplement, when you can eat 3 or 4 different foods and get all those in one. So notice that reoccurring theme as I go through these. So number one, the first deficiency that you should probably check for is copper deficiency. Okay, it's key in tyrosinase being catalyzed by copper to actually create melanin. Okay. Number 2, vitamin B12 deficiency. Vitamin B12 deficiency. And this is one of the most common causes of premature gray hairs, is when you have a vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay. Now, I'll probably have to create a whole video about vitamin B12 deficiency, because vitamin B12 is not only key for preventing premature gray hairs, but it's also so key for DNA, synthesis and repair as well too. But it's important to know, because it's involved in DNA synthesis and repair, when your DNA is impacted, guess what? You're going to impact your ability to make protein, because protein is made from our DNA, specifically mRNA. Okay, so if you have issues with your DNA and it's not being repaired and it's not being synthesized correctly, then guess what? You're going to have an issue with actually synthesizing protein. And as I said before, 90% of our hair is protein. Okay, so if you got an issue with making protein, of course, you're going to have an issue with actually not only growing hair, but you're going to have an issue with also putting melanin in the keratin so that you can have the pigment for your hair. And then also you're going to have an issue in terms of with your DNA, which is a whole nother conversation around cancer and other things as well too. And you're going to age, essentially, because that's what causes aging, when DNA essentially isn't repaired. Okay, so hugely important. This will influence the production of melanin, okay, when you have a vitamin B12 deficiency. And so I think that's very key to understand that if you go into your checkup and when you go into your checkup and he tells you have a vitamin B12 deficiency, this is something that has to be addressed, okay? And don't take it lightly, okay? And one of the primary issues, what I see, because quite often they'll say, vegans will have issues, or those who don't consume animal products will tend to have more issues around vitamin B12. But I'll tell you, working in the hospital and filling thousands upon thousands of prescriptions, it looked pretty equal in terms of like the people who are affected by vitamin B12 deficiency. So, and the other thing I think is really important, and I'm probably diving too deep here, is vitamin B12 doesn't come from animals, it comes from a bacteria. So, and then it also, your stomach acid plays a huge role too. So addressing vitamin B12 could be a little bit complicated. So I'll create another video about that, but you have to address it. And quite often when people get supplements, they just go out and get any supplement, but you need to get a methylated vitamin B12 supplement. You can't just get a regular one, because most people have problems methylating. And if you can't get the methylated form of vitamin B12, the unfortunate thing is you probably won't be able to absorb it. Okay, so vitamin B12 deficiency is one of the most common causes of premature gray hair. So you have to address the deficiency. When you get that annual exam at the beginning of the year, your goal throughout that year is to correct any and all deficiencies. Okay, through food first, through supplementation second, and also through changing your habits. Okay, so vitamin B12 deficiency, number 2. Number 3, zinc deficiency. Zinc. And why is that important? Because zinc activates the melanocytes. I told you the melanocytes are the cells that actually create melanin, the pigment that is responsible for our hair color. Okay, so when you are zinc deficient, you're not going to be activating those melanocytes to create the melanin. Okay, as I said before, the hair is 90% protein. Okay, and zinc also, just like vitamin B12, plays a key role in DNA synthesis, repair, and then protein replication. Okay, so when you have zinc deficiency, you're going to have an issue with DNA synthesis, repair, protein synthesis, the activation of melanocytes. That's just one thing. And most people know zinc for its impact on the immune system, and they don't know these. Okay, so it's hugely important to know and understand this is one that has to be correct.